In the Genshin Impact, Raiden was shown more like a tyrant than an Archon. Have you ever thought that our Electro-Archon's puppet Raiden Shogun was actually like an anti-hero rather than a protector? Of course it's Raiden Ai's will to make her replica that way. But what if a strong personality like Raiden Shogun, who has almost godlike powers, joined the Fatui Harbingers? Would it change anything in the lore? I'm here with an interesting plot, and I'm gonna share it with you for the next few minutes, so stay tuned. There is a possibility of Shogun joining the Harbingers, but it totally depends on Ai's decision on keeping Scaramouche with her or not. If she let Scaramouche be her side, rather than abandoning him, Scaramouche was treated as a trial piece by Ai in the actual lore. Maybe Scaramouche wouldn't have gone through all the misery, and in the end, plus, he would not have joined the Fatui as well. So here, you might wonder how this would affect Shogun joining the Fatui Harbingers. Only if Scaramouche was accepted by his creator Ai, or seen him as a potential for being an Archon, the Shogun wouldn't have gotten her importance, and she could have been made as a twin helper to Scaramouche, just like how Ai was playing a role of a shadow warrior when Inazuma was under Makoto, or they could have been twin gods. Shogun could have been added to Inazuma's military wing, or could have been a Kagemusha. It actually makes sense, as both Shogun and Scaramouche totally could replicate the scenario when the nation of Inazuma were under the rule of the twin gods, Ai and Makoto. Now coming to the actual question, why would Raiden Shogun even join Fatui? It's because she's curious. The Shogun's personality is completely opposite to Scaramouche. Even if she didn't go through any angst, she definitely thinks becoming a Harbinger is a perfect position for her. It's like she wants to join under the Tsaritsa, simply because she just wants to. It is a better option, and is a suitable position for Raiden Shogun. The story begins when the Shogun as the military commander wandering around the Inazuma for a scout. Then she sees someone suspicious in the Sarai Island. When she encounters that person, she questions him on what he was doing here. Inazuma is a closed nation. How dare you barge into this place? The Shogun questioned with authority. Shogun instinctively attacks him, but strangely she fell weak. She senses that this person is not ordinary. The tall man gives her a hand and lifts up her and reveals himself as the director of Fatui and go by the codename Jester. He says that he wants to recruit Shogun as a part of Fatui. Raiden, impressed by his powers, falls into a deep thought. She gets into a conclusion that Scaramouche can take care of Inazuma, and she wants to follow her interests. Shogun prepares to join the Fatui and faces Ai and mentions her decision to depart. With the disapproval of Ai, Scaramouche tries to attack, but suddenly she disappears from there right after stating her opinions. She doesn't have the intentions to fight her creator, nor his counterpart Scaramouche. The angered Scaramouche tells the Inazuman soldiers to search for Shogun, but she is nowhere to be seen. The hatred for the Tsaritsa and her organization is now spread all over the Inazuma, and the Ai bans Shogun from entering Inazuma ever again. Meanwhile, Shogun gets teleported to Snezhnaya and sees Jester waiting for her to arrive. He prepares to guide her into a large strange hall. The newly joined Shogun was led into a room of few people who was told that they would be her future diplomat teammates. She notices and glances at everyone and their attitudes. She encounters with the talkative Childa, and he explains the situation of Snezhnaya and praises his Archon Tsaritsa. Raiden acknowledges his adoration for Her Majesty, and in the moment, La Signora with her proudish senior attitude joins the gossip. Few moments later, everyone was taken to Zapolyarny Palace and were sent to the hall where Tsaritsa resides. Everyone enters the room. All of them becomes quiet and greet Tsarista with modesty. As soon as Shogun entered the hall, she doesn't bow to the Tsaritsa and stands still. You're not my god, so I'm not here to be under your knees, but I'm quite fascinated about your organization, so I'm gonna work with honesty, says Raiden Shogun with a bold face, witnessing her behavior. Childa and Signora gets shocked, and Signora whispers, "Do you know who are you talking to?" And then the Tsaritsa stops her. "I like your attitude, Shogun. Welcome to Snezhnaya. You're now officially one of the Harbinger. I give you the designation of rank 5 and a new codename. Have fun." And then she leaves. The Fatui Harbingers get perplexed by seeing Tsaritsa providing a higher rank to Raiden Shogun. She gets explained about the Gnosises by Arlecchino and discusses how obtaining them is an important role for a Harbingers. One day, in the middle of the Harbingers' discussion, the Fatui undermate enters the roundtable conference of the Harbingers and gives the message about the Traveler being a hurdle in Liyue. Everyone became more aware of the actions done by Traveler, and the Traveler gets known for his bravery for what he has done in Liyue. With the entry of Childa and Signora in the hall, they address that they have successfully obtained the Geonosis, and Childa explains that the Traveler can likely be a threat in future. Shogun begins to gain special interest in the Traveler. After attaining the Gnosises of both Archons of Mondstadt and Liyue, now it's the time for getting an Electro-Gnosis. The Tsaritsa officially appoints Signora to get her job done. Hearing about Inazuma, Raiden Shogun steps in and says to Tsaritsa, "I know Inazuma better than anyone else. Allow me to take up this role. I think I'll lead this mission successfully." Hearing this, Signora gets furious by her words and starts to have disagreements with the Raiden Shogun. Hopefully, the Tsaritsa accepts her demands and appoint both Raiden and Signora to take up the task together. Signora had no choice but simply accept Her Majesty's order. Signora and Shogun was sent with some of their servicemen, and they sets their journey to Inazuma. She encounters the rumors of the traveler visiting the Inazuma as well. Knowing about the traveler being involved with Scaramouche, she tries to meet Yaimiko first so that her mission won't get interrupted by the traveler. She visits Yaimiko and discusses about getting the Gnosis. Yaimiko declines to help her, and she talks about the situation the Inazuma is facing right now, on how the nation is under chaos, and gives the status on the fight against Hunt Decree that was happening. Miko tells Shogun that she can help her if she returns to Inazuma and join the travel to oppose the Vision Hunt Decree protest. She offers that she can exchange the Gnosis if she goes against I and change her mind. Meanwhile, Signora, who visited Scaramouche, the puppet Archon, was talking about the diplomatic relations between Snezhnaya and Inazuma and plans to get the Gnosis. Unexpectedly, the traveler was here. Signora ran into the travel and started to clash with the traveler. Scaramouche, who was in front of them, was witnessing their duel. The moment Signora was lost, Scaramouche stands up and walks towards Signora to assassinate her. Suddenly there was a purple black hole that emerged, and Raiden Shogun walks out of the black hole and attacks Scaramouche. "What are you doing here?" questions Scaramouche. The Shogun replies that she's here to talk about the diplomatic relations. Scaramouche begins to yell that, "You lost your mind. You can still ask for forgiveness from I." After that, there was moment of silence. The ground was shaking. In the midst, I shouted, "Just because she's dearest to you, Scaramouche, doesn't mean she can disrespect me." The traveler was perplexed and looking out every corner of the room, but no one was seen. There was a large door opening behind the throne of Scaramouche. Scaramouche requests I to stop it, but she threw him into the corner. But I didn't listen to him. The angered I, who was filled with the rage and wrath, couldn't tolerate the betrayal done by Shogun. She dragging Shogun into her closed realm. The traveler, who was watching all this, caught the hand of Shogun, and fortunately the traveler was pulled into I's realm, along with Raiden Shogun. Both Shogun and I encounter I face to face, and I looks at the traveler and says, "I'll come back to you again, traveler. Let me first do my job of punishing the wrongdoers and the one who wanted to destroy my eternity." She begins to attack Shogun, and Shogun starts attacking her as well as a defense. The fight becomes intense, and in the midst of the fight, Shogun falls into the floor, and she begins to become weak. I tries to destroy her completely, but the traveler, who was spectating everything, start running to protect Shogun, and puts her sword to defend the attack from Raiden I's polearm. Traveler strikes I back. The war continues on, and now it's time for the intense battle between the traveler and I. I was furious on Travel for interrupting her battle. The traveler manages to defeat I in the end, and she was about to stand up. Yaimiko enters into battlefield. I was shocked to see that it was Miko who was behind all of this. Miko explains that what I did was wrong, and convinced to stop whatever she was doing until now. She proposes that her people will forgive her for what she has been doing for years, but she questions I in return that can she forgive what Shogun has done. She tells that whatever I did was done, was indiscretion, and the same way whatever Shogun did was her choice as well. After sorting off the things, I gives her hand to the Shogun who was on the ground, which she indirectly indicated that she forgives Shogun. I doesn't talk a word with Shogun, but just walks away from there. All of them were taken out of the realm by Yaimiko, and the injured Shogun was taken by Signora and her servicemen. Miko says that she wants something to talk to the traveler, and invites him to visit the Sakura tree the next morning. The next day, the traveler visits Miko, and she asks few questions about the Gnosis and Raiden Shogun. Miko explains that she has traded her Gnosis to Signora for the traveler's safety, and for the promise she has made with Shogun to help you out. Traveler now understands why Shogun has come yesterday to the Archon's palace. The traveler wanted to thank Shogun, but Miko states that both Shogun and Signora had already departed to Snezhnaya with the Gnosis. The traveler again questions Miko on why she had to give up on Gnosis for her, and Miko responded that it was for Inazuma's well-being in the future as well. A few days later, Scaramouche sends a public message to the Inazuma people and declares that the shogunate will end from here, and proclaims that the rule over Inazuma shall no longer be under dictatorship. After all the settlements, the traveler sets his journey off to the next land, Sumeru, and the shogun reaches the Snezhnaya and looks forward to more missions that's gonna be assigned to her in future. Hope you enjoyed this what-if story. Please like the video and smash that subscribe button.